Is it? Is it? Yes.
Suara.
Okay.
Need to put the charger.
The charger. At least this part is recorded. Needs to put the charger. Yeah, but can you imagine going to that? It would start the conversation where we could get funding to build.
Yeah.
And but yeah, that needs to always be to buy the space, because you will never get funding
to rent and
to fix something rented, because it's too much risk.
But I can't imagine the price of that there.
That would be. Can you imagine it as all that empty area between that and the fort, which is beach? Then right in front there's this cute house.
Yeah.
But then it's the beach.
There's a beach there. It's and the space to do all kinds of stuff, like events and hortas and skates and bikes.
I'm not so sure, but yes, maybe with greenhouse.
With the greenhouse type of thing.
Because by the sea, growing anything.
And that in the other side, it has all that empty space that is like wasteland.
Yes.
Between that and the city wall.
Yeah, that's where I was talking.
Yeah. It's really cool. And parking.
By the road.
It's not too far from the bus.
Oh, let's not start talking about this yet.
No, that's how you make ideas. But it would be funny that that one space that was the origin of all the spaces ever would end up there.
That would be cool.
It would be too strange.
That was like 50 years ago or longer. Because already when we got together, you were talking about that space.
Really weird. Well, yeah, but different. I think should be also different ideas, different styles of uses.
Yes, and different
but always
possibilities.
But not. It doesn't make any sense to be envisioning mid-term or temporary stuff. Just the full-on thing.
Dream. Mm-hmm.
Big spaces, many areas, a lot of people, a lot of things happening. Central, high quality, everything.
Mm-hmm.
So that can be, of course, warehouses, garages, weird positionings and locations. Weird locations. I don't know. Like, can even imagine if we were in a less religious country, like a church. Like we saw this church that they made a skate park inside.
Wow.
Amazing. They fixed everything really pretty. Like the wood was really, really high quality. Then really pretty graffitis everywhere instead of
really pretty
tiles. And then just ramps everywhere.
And the ramps were made of wood as well, weren't they? Yeah. I think so.
Well, it's easy to find. Church.
Skate park.
Skate park.
Yeah,
that's the first thing that shows. Well, just search there in Google Images and you'll see.
Yeah.
Wow. Have really amazing photos of it as well.
Of course.
Wow. I haven't seen the photos.
But can you imagine a space like this?
In Spain?
Oh my gosh, it's so cool, all painted and with the light coming in. Is this the one you're talking, like really colorful?
It's like Mexico or something like that.
Amazing.
Spain.
Spain? Spain?
Yeah.
They're so still.
They're not. They're completely different from the Portuguese.
Aren't they like conservative and religious and?
That's the Portuguese.
I had that idea.
No, I had that idea before working there, but when I worked there, then completely changed.
This is so cool.
So good. It's amazing.
Like the floor with the same colors.
In the Netherlands, there's another one as well.
And that's what I say. Because a lot of people would say that this is respecting the legacy or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, this is exactly respecting the old.
It's not putting it down, not transforming into new. And no, you're always thinking, how do you bring the youth?
Yeah.
This way?
And that is super pretty. And still kept the. I don't know. It's just amazing.
Yeah. Can you imagine getting a space like a warehouse and then paint it all inside like this?
Yeah.
But then the painting needed to be a project by itself. Needed to become a kind of a.
Look, yoga classes in the church. That one. So cool.
Yep, so cool. There's another one here as well. There's plenty, actually.
Yeah, but that's the most known.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyways. So today we basically spent time for her to understand what was, even though, well, it's like everything, she has to go through all the process of understanding and getting used to new ways. As she wanted to understand which spaces do we want in the space. We want everything. And it all depends on the people that are involved. She was really into the kitchen, having the kitchen, and I told her about what we were. I think that's important for the drawings as well. But I think it's important for you to find a style that you can do pretty fast, and then they keep a style throughout the project. I was saying about the kitchen, and then she told the story about the restaurant in Peniche, this Tasca as well. I think in the beginning to be this
bakery
oven with an oven that they did breads and sold the bread, but then during all the time that they were using it, it was available for the community to use. So the men would go there and do fish and bread by themselves.
Mm-hmm.
It was real community oriented space. Really cool story. I wonder if it's good enough to tell like on TEDx or.
Should contact. Yeah. Did you should put in there? Yeah. So.
Taca do Joel. We have quite a list already. Yes. So what should we do in the meantime? I've been also looking into funding options that faces from the Montpio. Actually, Faces is the name of the funding program, not the name of the project.
Okay.
The project is called Nessie, which is the association behind the. They have a home for handicapped.
Okay.
But this Faces project might be an option.
Like Faces? Okay.
They have basically to fight social exclusion, which in many ways I think it's just how we propose it, because what we're proposing is to advance as a society involving everyone.
Maybe this is again a trick.
What?
Trick question. Like in Obidu's community was not community everybody.
Yeah.
So in this, if
it was a certain community.
They think everybody, they think handicapped people.
Yeah, it's just how do you propose something good enough that the young, cool, entrepreneurial people want to work with them? You know, how do you do something cool enough that they accept children and older people and community people and all that? You know, that's the if that could be the thing that we could sell for funding. So how do you make a project cool for the young entrepreneurial reach to be willing
Bless you
to share in the blah. I saw some like handicapped projects where they call them a different name, because nowadays most of these projects are also working not just with the physical and the mental handicapped, but people that are socially handicapped.
Yes.
Long-term unemployed, depressed, emotional diseases, all that, anxiety. And they created the name for it. I don't know if it was like unadapted. He's why not listening to me. Smiling and everything. Viva, Dottie. The next practice is by querer alguma coisa.
Well, he looks at you in the eyes. He blinks his eyes like he's forcing you.
Yeah, so the Crédito Agrícola didn't really have anything in their sites, but I remember they always sponsor things. They give hundreds of euros, like with quite easily. Like the money created the running.
The other day I was thinking, and then I completely forgot about the social. How was it that we learned that FASH social business, was it?
Yeah.
Like
they have all the time opening all the time. I mean, I've checked a couple of times. They have different kinds of funding?
Because there's always also funds like that, and because it's more or less the model that we want to do. It's not for profit. It's like it can have and it's wanted to have profit, but it doesn't go out of the So if we could also look into that, I don't know.
I have here already. Most of these funds are all based on one is called the Portugal Social Innovation Fund.
Already my book stayed out.
Which is from the 2020 thing. But these are bigger, more complex funding, but it's better than Erasmus Plus, for example.
But how do we do with the if we would apply, or if we would be more interested in the Gulbenkian funding? Should we talk about it with Francisco?
We can ask him first, and then he says if he can help or not.
Yeah, because I don't know if he can.
Of course.
But of course he can tell is it suitable for us or not. Very at least that much he can do.
And anyway, most of these, like the Fundação EDP, they have very specific things that you can apply. But then they say, like, we normally only accept projects that are in these areas, but we're willing to listen to. So they always have a way that you can, if you have a good project, like we're going to have
two. The TEDx and the space.
Yes, but TEDx never going to be funded by this project. You can get sponsorship from companies, but this for them, they even say they don't sponsor events and stuff like that. They don't sponsor anything that is like temporary or maybe research. Research is the maximum level. And then in the for example, Carlos Gulbenkian has this sustainability project that is where we could fit because it has like working with all ages, fixing these type of problems.
If we go to the like eco building,
that is so hard because it involves construction funding. I think if we for example, we would get the funding that would support us enough to then think of buying or refurbishing a space, then yes. And for example, we would say, okay, now we need credits, and this credit can be paid off by this funding for eco building or sustainable. Well, that exists and it's a possibility, but it's only when you already have money. In our case, it's going to be a bunch of poor people. But I was thinking, like, we're easily 10 people. Like, we're already around 6 people. And knowing what we can do with money, with the amounts of money that we have done in the past, I imagine that all of us, that we find 10 people that pay 50 euros a month. Then it's 500 euros. Then we would get extra 500 euros from whatever. 100 euros from the city, 100 euros from Montepio, 100 euros from somewhere else. And we would have like 1,000 euros a month. We can do a lot. Like, because already with 500 euros, you can rent pretty nice space in Peniche. With another 500 every month, we can refurbish, because we then don't need to buy yet. We don't need to buy tables, all that stuff we already have. We just go put the space working in the next day.
I don't know. Do the rest of the group know that? Now that I think about it, do they know that we have that stuff?
We mentioned it, but I don't know if everybody has that in mind. I think everybody's thinking of starting from scratch. But
I don't know if it has also come in their mind necessarily.
Yeah, because they're not there yet.
The project is, for them, it's still a dream.
Yeah.
Even though they try to think it more.
I think it's a conversation to have as a group, because this gives a different perspective. This is like, that's easy to happen, instead of try to get the funding, and if you don't get the funding, it's not possible. No, and we need, like, for example, Gabs and John, they're dealing with London normally. They're thinking of the tens of thousands of euros. They're not thinking of the thousands of euros. Even if they think that Portugal is cheaper, then they're going to all do. And now they're winning this eco village. It's nice. It's Costa Rica. It's an expensive place to be. It's not rich. So.
And it's not for Costa Rican people.
No.
It's for.
The school has some nice things, like they have scholarships. But still, I pretty much said it's 1 per 10 or something like that.
If even that.
Yeah. Now let me write this here, because it's something. There was something. Here, let me see. Like, what is that? What are we offering? Like, in a proposal, like, what is to gain for Peniche and the city? There's a question.
I'm trying to think of those terms, like businessy, that business people like to hear. Because it actually is like.
Yeah, they will ask this, and we're all what we're going to say. Because it's cool. It's good. It's good.
No, it's like the same thing as like when we were in the beginning of Espaço, that they were talking about having a place for people to work and come and stay and live there, and it's more or less the same thing.
Yeah, I think physically it will be a co-working space that there is no.
Attract booziness. People. I think one thing that is really important, this is more the design lab, but the space with the design lab has that, which is what we're offering is to think about the things that are a problem right now or in the future. And what we're thinking is using Peniche as a laboratory for a lot of those things, like new employment, new. Oh, yeah. I need something fast.
What's happening?
Pink. Oh, baby boys.
He's in, like, you're holding him, and I have the boxes on top. My face and your little square box. You can see. You're like, ay.
Lingoléu é que é bom. Lingoléu é que é bom, é que é bom, é que é bom. Good to record these things. But...
What are we offering?
Think tank.
Innovation.
For new booziness, new solutions.
Okay. I need to stop scrolling Facebook.
Test what? Test like when. What are the things that right now is going to be a problem? For example, in Peniche, the future is so not a lot of jobs, right?
Mm-hmm.
What else?
Not a lot of residents.
Yeah, the kind of
mostly foreigners and people that go there to work.
Living conditions.
Young people.
I think what we imagine a space like this bringing is new kind of movements in business, in people's personal lives, in their, I don't know,
new types of connections. Because that's, we have to explain what that means, but it's like we have people coming, but they're coming in a certain way that it's not really good, because if it was really good with the amount of tourism, with the amount of surfing, it shouldn't have any problem, right? But what is happening? You know, first is a mobile tourist.
Yeah.
They come and they probably go
it's
shop.
Like it doesn't have enough conditions to stay for long. That's why.
No. Yeah.
Or even coming.
And it's like it's a city, but you don't have that feeling of a city.
Yeah. Well, for 1 week and for a couple of parties or 2 is fine, because you spend it mostly on the beach and in the parties in the hostel.
You know, the other day I went to visit my uncle. He lives in Baleal, like the road that goes from Ferrel to Baleal. And I just realized that he can be really interesting to just chat with. He's like really crazy personality, like silly, likes to mess up with everyone. But then he starts talking, and I just remembered that he was saying something like that Peniche, because he remembers it like very busy with the fishing and all of that. And then he started talking that now that there's no fish that comes to Peniche, that they go to Porto or Lisbon or Sines or like the biggest ones. And then he was starting to say something like, and you know why there isn't small fishermen here nowadays, blah blah blah. It's because that there's no fish closer to the coast. Because a few years back there was some kind of business that went to Peniche to get some kind of algae, alga, like eatable, edible, some kind of edible algae that they got so much that the fish didn't have enough to eat, so it like messed up all the ecosystem, and there's no fish, and so there's no small.
Imagine project to bring that algae back.
Yeah, so like just talking to him for like 5 minutes,
Yeah.
he was like that, and then I think he was saying something else. I can't remember.
I think that you could. It's a good post to make in the group. So bringing up these types of ideas.
Yeah.
That you might not think that, like this. This would never cross our mind.
Yeah. But can you imagine having like a regular event where you would just get someone like this and just talk with them?
Yeah, like make a. I think this would always be really good if it was like a, a conversation, like someone who would be good into keep going and bringing on the subject.
Yeah.
Yeah, and not just that, also this type like interviews and with people, and then
I think we should. I was just thinking how that reminded me of how Spasuo when we used to have the meetup when it was maths. I understand why we changed it, why we changed the team meeting to be specifically about the space. But that time we lost a lot when people used it as a place to come and talk about many things.
Yeah.
Of course, I think weekly is too often.
Pode ir. Olha, porque nós não sabemos, nós ainda vamos durar aqui muito tempo. Mas mais 1h30. Olha, nós sabíamos que isto ia acontecer, não podemos. Está bem, para que é que estás a sofrer então?
Jos ovat mennä. Me ei joka tapauksessa kaikki 5 mahduttaisi ne kauhean hyvin yhdessä.
Nós já tínhamos isto marcado.
Beijinho, Ayo!
Yeah.
That we should, especially in the beginning, have this kind of meetings where people can come and talk about.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of things that we kind of think we know, but we don't know at all.
Exactly.
Of the local community and their history and what's going on, and yeah.
And I bet there's like tons of stories and interesting things, like
even though our.
You know what? Just remember for TEDx the lady surfer. You remember? What's her name?
I have no idea.
Sarah dos Bolos, I think.
Sarah dos Bolos?
Yes, he's a banker. He's sold in this van.
I'm just thinking about a lady on a surfboard with the cake eating.
No, she's a surfer. She's one of the oldest surfers in Peniche. Is this rough
but really pretty
tomboyish woman? She must be around 60, but she looks like 40. Looks physically, but you see her moving and the surfing, how hard it is for someone who surfs almost every day. That she needs to be older. Is for sure older than me because I was a kid and she wasn't already looking like she looks today.
Yeah, at least in the last 10 years she hasn't changed.
And she's at least 20 years older than me. Because when I started, I remember 12-ish, 12 to 15, maybe in that age I met her and she was a grown woman.
Yes, remember that when you were 13, people in their 20s were old already. For you.
Thoughts. Surfer lady. Laddie.
Surfer lady. Will you remember?
Yes.
I don't know if I would call her lady. But...
I wouldn't as well, but in English you can't call her anything else.
Yeah. Woman.
Surfer, older woman that comes to Montreal, trash bags. Just need to ask like a couple of questions and I'll get the name.
Of course.
What else are we offering? I think this community activation is important, and we have to explain what that does that mean, which is basically, you know, participation.
I think it is more
Civic. Blah, how we call?
activity or education.
Civismo. How is it in English?
Civic. I think it's civic.
Yeah. The civic is
A noun.
being
civility. That's what the translator gives me. Civility.
How I see what can we do with the community activation? I think it's not pulling the long-term how they call it? Unemployed and stuff. I think it's more in general giving the people a feeling that they can do things.
Yeah.
And that it's worth doing there.
How would you call that? Because we already talked this last time with the gaps. And how could we call that? Like this?
Spreading optimism.
Empowerment?
Yes, it is empowerment.
Yeah, I guess so.
You
talked about the creative spill.
Yeah.
I think that is what we know the best to do, and that is what we want to do. I don't believe any of us wants to be a therapist or wants to be leading a project with depressed people.
This is we haven't had that yet. That's one of the missing. And they are always so crazy. Everybody that deals with
other therapists, yeah.
Psychology. Like someone that would be this had this the same, almost like someone into psychology and design, or someone into that would be more like a researcher, or more like a science approach.
I was just going to say that.
Because then I think we could do with if we had, but then needed to be like kind of like a partnership, like with a Centro de Emprego. That we would have someone from them, more hired from them, dealing with these people with, and that we would, what we would do is help them think in different ways of doing that, because normally they have that. And a lot of people that work in the Centro de Emprego actually have psychology studies. Yeah.
I studied quite a lot in high school.
Me too.
I had all the possible courses.
5 or 6 years of psychology.
I
really?
I hated it.
I loved it.
I always had bad teachers.
I had amazing teachers, really amazing teachers. I really liked the courses. I took all the possible courses.
You didn't write creative spill?
Coach.
Spill.
Yeah. Coach.
I think that would go with the empowerment in the same.
No, it's different. This is we set up there in that neighborhood, and soon new warehouses start being rented for.
Yes, but isn't that exactly what we want? That we would set the example.
Yeah, but that was almost more like people by starting using the space and being involved with us would get inspired to do their own thing or start a project inside space. This is more like even these that don't ever talk with us, or even kind of like these people that are not from Peniche that come here. We'll do our own. And
so this can even be.
But we're proposing it. That's a good thing instead of fighting.
Yeah.
You know that. It was kind of a problem also in this passport because a lot of people came to the city proposing other similar and they wanted to make everything an umbrella. And the problem was that they reacted to, I don't know these people. I don't know this Pedro that you talk about.
Yeah.
And I just heard what they did. I went to the event. I really liked it. I want to do this in Peniche. Why do I need to be under them?
Yeah.
And we didn't even know anything about it.
Did they open up those places?
No, they're still in building and construction.
I found Joanna the other day. She's not there anymore.
Yeah.
No.
When she came to Brazil, from Brazil, she made a post.
No, India. She was first in
Brazil. She was in both, yeah.
From wherever. She posted that she won't be anymore in Spasso.
Did she? I didn't see that.
She did. So she's friends with Zelia.
Yeah.
Not that I follow anything, but
it pops up.
So stupid to let something like this annoy for ridiculous reasons.
There's a brain. There's a brain.
Yeah.
I think Tita has maybe the smallest lizard brain that I know. Very rarely you feel annoyed or mention something.
Maybe I do feel, but I don't.
Yeah.
Let it out.
Fight it. I think it's a little bit like the fighting in groups. The other day I saw some really good name for that, like vigorous debates. Vigorous debates are important for everything, innovation, change, so and to embrace that instead of this, you have to accept, no, people will fight. No, it's like, no, let's want it, but then own it. Like, I disagree with you. We have here a vigorous debate, not, calling names or yelling or whatever. But this, no, you're not. I don't think that's right, and go on and on until actually now I understand your point. That would be really good. But this is about the lizard brain. No, let's talk about it. I think I'm feeling like this. I know it's wrong. You disagree, right? You want to have a vigorous debate with me? Actually, that's what families have all the time. And then they just, stick to it. Stick together. We just had a vigorous debate now with Dio. And then it's fine.
Well, not with Dio, but...
No, we won't be closing cycles.
No, but it's funny
vigorous debate.
Because sometimes Lucas and Manny sometimes have fights, or Manny and India, or India and Lucas. They have physical fights. They look like they're going to rip each other apart. And then it's yelling and screaming and crying, and then 5 minutes and they're blah, 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 talking and playing again.
No, I'm really stopping crying and let's go somewhere.
Yeah. Then you're like, why did I even go? Should have let them fight. No, sometimes I stay looking, but they don't have means yet to stop it.
Places Magazine, Future Space Property Activity.
I just wrote keywords and I found this, and I'm listening to you, so I can't really read it, but it seems interesting. My brain is trying to do both at the same time, and I just want to say it.
Thanks for that. What was it?
Do we? Where?
Here.
We should. I like this property activation term. We should use it with
property activation
with owners of spaces there, and just say, look, we want to do a property activation.
Actually, we talked about it in college during the college project, thinking that we would propose to do that because we know what happens after we use the space.
Yeah.
Yes. But bring that up there. You have this under description. You have this. What is it? And then write like property activation, and then put that link.
Ah.
Oh. That was good.
With my hands.
But yeah, we need to be careful with the wording in the what are we offering, so we don't mislead.
Yeah.
Mislead, especially the
like if you talk
city.
Like jobs and employment, you'll be like, okay, so we're bringing a lot of jobs. Hey, we hope to make some.
We
for
bring
us.
a lot of jobs. There's just no money.
We bring a lot of work.
Yeah.
But like also another thing I actually wrote here, fights, because then there's the social things, like fight loneliness. How many people join Spasso because of that? Marina, Natalia, the men, especially the men. Shit.
You?
Yes, me as well, but I'm not community.
But that is one thing that I want to be clear with the community, that when we talk about community, we mean everybody.
Yeah.
That we don't mean us, or we don't mean the unemployed, or we don't mean the young people. We mean everybody.
Yeah.
If we talk about
people that have residency in the city.
Yeah.
That was like.
No, we talk about everybody, and the community includes the people who have been born and raised and never went out of Peniche, and there belongs the people who come there for a weekend, if they want to.
So. What did I do? What? I think something we should. Yeah. What is?
I just want to look the Wikipedia on Impact Hub, and it says a network of hubs which foster entrepreneurship, idea incubation, business development.
Wait.
And offers.
Wait.
Oh.
Hola.
Hey.
What's this?
Hey.
I want to interrupt your flow.
Keep going. We'll just slip in. Let's see. Oh, little Bubba.
Just spit.
Did he get it in the basket?
Did he what? No.
In the basket.
Just the sticky floor.
3 points.
Oh, sorry, Tita. You looked like you were in the flow of saying something.
No, it's totally fine. We were just talking.
He was reading, so it was an easy one.
Yes. No.
This one already peed on my legs. So it's amazing. He likes listening to me. That's the first.
That's what he did for 9 months.
Listen to Pedro shout. Hello!
Yeah.
Asking it to brainstorm.
Yeah,
He's all. I think that's why he's also serious and stuff. He was like listening to you and like, what the heck is he saying?
Don't worry, Ivor's going to turn out so boring. He keeps talking about politics, and he's 7. That's all my fault. So.
Donald Trump.
Poor boy. Go play. I need to read the latest
Guardian article.
Hello, how are you?
We're good, thanks. What about you?
Good. I'm a bit how am I? I'm good. I feel a bit like busy and because we've got my sister over because she lives in Nicaragua, but there were riots, so she had to come down short notice. And then,
emergency visit.
Yeah, there's like huge. It's like it's got Egypt 2010 vibes there. So she's come over from that, and then
Really?
my friend from England is here, and then I have this like crazy work gig, which is totally stupid. I have to fly to France this afternoon and then come back Friday.
Okay.
And then next week we go back to England. So
this is all our last week. Our last week was meant to be like this really nice, relaxed. Would be here. John's not here. Everybody else is. It's not.
Yeah, my family's here, but I'm not here.
Oh.
So a little bit stressy, but I'm good. I'm good.
Right. Go a little bit.
No.
To stand because he doesn't like sitting.
He's gonna pee on you standing up. It's
How's your back? How's
your back? Right. Yeah, so we talked a little bit about what we've done today in the latest involvement with Peniche, which has been good. And to go really quick, we talked about funding possibilities, looking more into like local things, and there's also some biggish funding opportunities that we could look to, but this will take time. But I think there's a few faster ones. Can you keep the video?
Yes, I tried to.
There's a few faster ones that we're looking for. Like there's these small local branch banks, like these cooperative banks that they normally fund pretty easily things like, you know, the athletics run to buy. Like I've gotten sponsorship from them for things like to buy prizes or bike races and stuff like that. It's almost like a meeting. You go for a meeting, send an email, and then you get it, like 500 euros. So I'm thinking this could be an option for us to get like smaller types of funding in the beginning. Then something that came in a conversation with Peniche, which is to give a little bit of perspective to the group, to imagine what is possible to do. And I think we never had this conversation with you guys. And is that if we find around 6 to 10 people willing to pay something like 50 euros, and then we would get some small funding, like 500 euros extra, like imagine 200 euros from the city, 200 euros from one of these banks, 100 euros from another sponsor, monthly. We make 1,000 euros a month, and we can have an amazing space in Peniche.
I'm in.
And we have and we have everything. You know, we already have, you know, tables, chairs, routers, tools, everything. We have everything to go tomorrow and put the space working.
We have
for around 10 people.
Yeah.
We have everything.
Even for kitchen, all that stuff. Yeah.
Well, that's good.
Wow. Yeah.
Thanks.
So it's good to understand that it's not so far. You know, maybe the dream space.
Yeah.
Yes, but we have something to work with in the meantime.
The prototype's not far.
Yeah. So it's.
And we're not starting from scratch.
Yeah.
That sounds totally doable. Yeah, it
helps a little bit. Yeah.
June.
Yeah.
Well, and even if because the way you broke it down there was 10 people paying 50.
Yeah.
So it sounded like
a month.
Yeah.
That's like nothing.
Yeah. It sounded like you were saying that was half of what was necessary, and the rest was from funding.
Yeah. So,
but I mean, €100 enough for an awesome space, particularly if it's a space that's, you know, it's one thing to pay €100 a month for some corporate co-working space like WeWork.
Yeah.
It's a different when it's €100 for the space that you created.
Yeah.
You would pay in England, for a month's co-working space, you would pay about £250.
But we always have to remember that we're not just putting 50 or €100 or €500. We're putting a lot of hours.
Yeah, of course.
So we're actually paying a lot more than that, but it's our choice, of course. But financially, is this possible? And of course, then if we get a couple of people that are just co-working users, and then they pay €100 easily.
Yeah.
Or these weekly or daily uses that we actually got a lot in Caldas da Rainha, or got more than normal.
But we got because they were coming from Peniche, because in Peniche there's nothing.
Exactly.
So they could be not just sporadic.
In the your budgeting for the space there, is that for a long-term rent?
Yeah.
Or
long-term rent, like a year minimum.
Okay.
But anyway, minimum year means maximum 2 months. What does that mean is that you have to give normally 2 months ahead notice before moving. So it's never that long-term.
But it means it's €600 each for a year.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's all right.
Yeah.
We in it as well if we need to.
Is there a garden we can put a tent in?
That's what I'm saying. Now that we go back to Portugal, we just grab our tent and go camp the summer on the beach.
Yeah, but I know, like, I'm seeing now projects. I just got invited the other day for one that is transforming a school into a co-living, co-working space. And I'm seeing that in the future is something that we could look for. I don't know if this exists in Peniche, but these type of places that then we could have also an option for a few. We wouldn't have maybe 4 families to co-live in the neighborhood or in the same space. But this is something that we dream of maybe, I don't know, the next 5-10 years.
We didn't convince any other family yet, so.
Well, Luz Marina was going to sell her house for us to buy a farm. I'm going tomorrow. Sell the house tomorrow.
Yeah. The rest of her
Really
family was almost crying, like, you're selling. He wants to sell our house.
I don't want to hear anyone. I pay the house. It's mine. I'm going to sell it. Anyway, so we looked into that, the funding, the money. We looked into what we've done. I just launched the naming brainstorm. Looking forward for a lot of movement there. We need that. Had a chat with Inês today. We did some of that work around the context proposal. She already talked with Tita. She's going to do drawings and also visit spaces. And what else we've done here was that? What was it?
Yeah.
This is now what we're looking for. We spent a little bit more time in thinking of what we're saying that we're bringing with the projects to the city, to the local community, and we're right now at attracting new business and people, community activation, civic participation, empowerment, a think tank for new businesses, new solutions, new living conditions, new types of connection with Peniche, meaning living and choosing to live in Peniche, startup scholarships, innovative events, environmental activism, creative spillage. On a social level, this like fighting loneliness. I was going to write it and I didn't write there. This gender, how would you say this? What is the word when you, not gender, about involving all the ages? There's a name, remember?
Equality.
Diversity and inclusion, maybe?
No.
Equality.
There's a technical, Fernando is normally talking about it all the time.
Don't remember.
But yeah, it comes from the civic movements, Black Lives Matter, all that. And then comes after that comes the all ages thingy. That's one thing that is important for us, and we actually found a lot of funding for that. So, and we're talking so much about it. I think we should really look into that. Like, how do we create, learning spaces that involve people from all ages? How is that a positive thing? Also, this, the fighting the loneliness has become such a thing, like
Actually, yeah, that's
here in Finland, we're going to have a ministry for it. Is it in the UK you have a...
And we've got a happiness officer, a well-being officer now, minister. Yeah, I think.
Yeah, so this needs to be pretty well marketed for the proposal, because it needs to be really easy for them to understand what is bringing. Oh, it's a cool space with some hipster co-workers. Yeah, it's cool.
More than that,
We can help you.
Yeah.
We're more than hipsters. We're kind hipsters.
We're hipsters.
We're compassionate.
Yeah, okay. I like that. Compassion hipsters.
Compassion hipsters, yeah. Another thing that Gabs has said she wants to do, and it's really good for you to do, it's the team part.
The bios.
I think we have really cool people to show off our things. Like, do you know Peniche? Peniche has a doctorship in science communication.
Okay.
She has studied design, and she's managing a co-work space.
Oh, really cool. Where does she live? Where is she based?
She's in Lisbon.
In Lisbon.
Yeah. But she's living after time in Peniche because her boyfriend is there.
Okay.
So she's actually just spending 3 nights in Lisbon. And she wants to do the transition. And then she has all the qualities. She's really kind, she's really nice, talking, funny,
outgoing.
Yeah, I hope so. If you'd said, "Oh, she's a scientist, a designer, a bit of an asshole," but like,
the one thing that she was more interested about was make research great again.
Yeah.
No, it's not because when her doctoral paper is about how do you make, because there's a lot of work done about making research accessible for everyone, is that's great, but if you can't read that, and she says even for scientists, sometimes they're hard to read research, so how do you transform with design those research into good communication? And that's really good for us in the project, and for common is really interesting. So, so that's where we are right now. And with the team, I don't know. I think what would be cool you could start with is make maybe yours and John fast. Put there as an example, and then say, I need to do this with every you guys. When can you do it?
Yeah.
And we can do it on chat or a call or.
And it's going to go in the proposal or on the website or both?
The website and in the proposal. Well, the website will be the proposal.
And, so and you say 500 words on it or something?
Yeah, I based on the bios that we made for our websites, which have around 350 words, which is the how do you say, Masha?
Masha?
Masha.
How do you say that?
I don't know. How do you translate Masha? Masha.
Masha. Yeah, I really like it.
Masha.
Gabs' favorite word in Costa Rica is velocidad. She loves the word velocidad.
You see the sign on the roads everywhere. Velocidad.
In Portuguese is velocidad.
Velocidad.
I heard them all speaking in Portuguese at the weekend. It's like sounds like Russian.
I know, it's Russian Spanish. It's Russian Spanish.
Yeah, Masha is spot or smudge. It's a technical word for when you look and you see the amount of words visually. So 500 characters make around. I didn't say 500 words. I said 500 characters, right?
Oh, okay.
500 words is like a book.
All right,
I thought that sounded quite long.
Mine is 500 words.
So
I think people need to really show off. I think it's really important to show off.
Yeah. Yeah, but I think it's important. Like some things that I never put in my bio is, consulting for this networks of spaces that we've done, that we're actually going to apply with our project. But we should, in this case, specific case as a proposal, we have to say, we have to say that John has wrote the book. We have to say that John has come from that island school.
Hyper Island.
Yeah.
An organizational thing.
Yeah, all these names and things that we need to use it because that's what they're going to look for. That's what they're going to, this is interesting.
Yeah, because I think the thing is, external people have more respect for our own things than we do.
For sure.
To undervalue ourselves, I think. And the second one is that we tend to not care about names, whereas particularly councils and corporations are like, ooh, name.
Yeah, exactly.
Ooh, name.
It's something to hang on to.
Yeah. And for example, we in a team, we talk a lot about learning, and then we say we have a Finnish person in the team.
You must know about learning.
Finland, they're world leaders in learning.
You know what you're talking about.
I won't tell anyone that I'm English.
So and I think there was actually something that worked a lot the other day, and we need to remember this to put in the proposal. The other day, someone was asking me something about the project, and they're saying, so this woman from the project, the plastic project, what's her name? Gina. Yeah. And she was asking me, are you around so we could meet? And I said, actually, we're right now between Costa Rica and Finland and France. And then she was, whoa.
Cool.
And I think if we then put this as also in the proposal to whatever, like a mayor reading that and saying, there's all this interest in Peniche, we must be amazing. And they feel good about themselves, and then they listen to us.
But we also, with that, need to be also careful that it's
a balance, right?
Foreigners coming and doing.
That's why
Reis.
You have a Pedro, the most common Portuguese name in the world.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Over
Actually,
5,000 Pedro Reis.
oh,
Oh right, my name's Juan.
Actually,
Wow.
even
Wow.
full name,
João.
hundreds of people.
I have a cousin with the same name as me. The full name,
4 names.
three names.
That's funny.
Pedro Miguel Vieira. All right.
Little naked bottom.
Aw.
Yes.
Just want to switch his and stretch his hair.
Like you used to say, if only we could bottle. If,
Yeah, just like that.
no.
Okay.
All right. So questions.
Bios, when do you reckon you want? Well, I'll have
We'll
to
just do them.
work on
quick.
them this week, and is as of next week. Be able to make next Tuesday, and then I'll be out for a couple of weeks.
So you're traveling on the 2nd, is it?
We leave here on the 2nd, yeah. And then see.
So what are we planning to? We would like to, by the end of the week, to have a template where we start adding the contents.
Yeah.
That's what I'm doing. And Inês is more on creating the content.
Mm-hmm.
So now we have you on the bios. Tita is on the video.
And the image for the timeline, I think.
Yeah. And
There was that. Yeah, need to.
Timeline or roadmap, whatever we want to call it. And then on the 1st would be great to have the name. And then we start buying domains, getting emails, all that shit. And then the rest, hopefully in another week, we could start killing our guts.
You think in few days we're able to decide the name?
I think we need to do as we say. You know, like if it's not perfect yet, we just start.
Yeah, like a good. I think it's really silly, but when a group has a name, even if it's not a great name, suddenly you're like, okay, let's make a web page. We'll tell people about our thing that's got a name, and they're like, oh, it's a thing. It used to be a thought, but now it's a thing.
Everybody feels like,
oh, I'll pay for that. It's a thing.
yeah. I don't know yet what it is, but I can belong to that. I can't belong to an idea. I can belong to
right, exactly. But it's something really does. I think it feels tangible and like purchasable or something from people.
With Espresso, you changed the name, didn't you? After a bit.
We never called it a name until we had the full space. So basically we had a project inside. It had a name. Original name was Epic.
Yeah.
Already called like that as original project. Physical space, and then we started Collab inside of it, and so Collab was the thing forever.
And the co-working space was called.
We call it the common area. The common area.
Common, because in Portugal the communists are really well seen.
Say what?
The what?
Communism.
Communism. I said common area, not communism.
As in commentator.
No, but
right.
when you say words like common.
Oh really? People just
they will automatically connect
70.
it. Yeah.
It's good that you don't have a red logo.
Okay. All right, that's good to know.
Okay.
They probably shouldn't see the cover of my book.
No, I think it's democracy is well seen. People are, but you have to think that even though you're from the UK, and so maybe UK and France have a very liberal view of communism. While last that we had
didn't have it.
Yeah, because we had the anti-communism thing, against the Russians, and we fought that. In the colonies, like Angola, was a big thing about.
No, I would say the reason a common area came to mind was obviously because of common, but it was because in in houses or in universities particularly. You all live in your rooms, but then you have the common that you all go to.
We actually have the project grounds for spaces because of common grounds.
Okay. Yeah. Right.
Finding the common ground.
Yeah. Okay. But I mean, I think a name that just is simple and descriptive, because otherwise we can call it like asteroid B whatever. You can give it some crazy name and it's like, cool, let's go with that.
Sorry.
Have you been peed on? Have you been peed?
And poo.
Oh.
Oh, look, he's
Oh.
High five.
You got him. Boom.
It was not on my lap. Oh, very nice. So, what we do is taking your already read.
Emergency.
Oh, nice.
Yellow blanket.
This is our fifth, so this is nothing.
Yeah.
We're just pretending here to be confused because of you.
No, we actually. Like, it was in the bed, and I'm like, yeah, it's fine. Just roll underneath the sheets.
You go all day. You go bare bum all day. No nappy.
No, he has a diaper normally.
Yeah, we try sometimes to air things out.
Get some air around.
But for sure, in the summer, he'll be a lot without the diaper.
Be free.
Yeah, we try after the first month not to use as little as possible.
Yeah, so they get a rush. So brainstorming we can add to the Facebook discussion.
Yes, please. Yeah. Let's do that. Let's bring a lot of ideas, crazy ideas and funny ideas and all that. I think the exercise in itself is also important because it creates a lot of movement and a lot of so it's good to continue for long.
Yeah, I think it's one of those posts that will have a bunch of people commenting that normally don't.
Yeah,
and it's a very good tool to make people belong, you know. Almost like holding the baby. So
no, not the baby without the diaper.
That's not my baby. You look so bored. Oh God.
Talking about matters of consequence, Kai.
Right. How are John? Did you see that comments about doing that workshop?
Yes. But I don't know what that is.
Yeah. So I wanted you to ask that.
Yeah.
So basically, we're getting into a point, I think, after the name and after we're all making plans to come to Portugal and make commitments or longer commitments, where we kind of we want to make sure that the things that we want are going to happen. And so I read this many years ago in a book and stayed in my mind, and I didn't remember it. And if you look into my Facebook profile, I made this question a week ago, like looking for the words. So these sacred extremes, and the sacred extremes comes from this guy Scott Belsky, the guy from Beyonce. He wrote this book, Making Ideas Happen. And what he says is that in groups, to make decisions, if you get into always listening to everyone's to make a decision, which is the name for that is, come on, democracy, man.
Consensus?
Consensus?
I
forgot the words. So for everybody, if you have to have consensus in everything, then you know it's slow.
Yeah.
Creates a lot of pressure and it brings a lot of things. But if the group in the beginning, kind of like writing the constitution, agrees with which are the sacred extremes, like without this project is no more what we proposed in the beginning, then we give autonomy for everyone to make decisions based on that, because I'm making the right decision right now because I know this. And that's the thing basically that we would do, like in an hour, say, discuss what would they be, then all put that into a document and say, okay, these are the sacred extremes of this project. We can call it something else.
No, I think I see what you mean. So it's like, so there's this idea of consent as well, which is like, what would you object to? So for instance, if we now were to propose ideas, consensus would mean that we all have to agree on the final thing, which also means we all kind of disagree. Like it's not perfect, but you know, everyone agrees. Consent is if I share an idea and you all say, I have no huge objection to that, so you can carry on. So is it about testing like the limits of the idea? Without this, it's no longer the idea that we're talking about.
Yeah, I think it's that also. I think if you read the article that I posted there, you get a better point because it's much more eloquent than I am. And you read and get better. What I was proposing is that we then would, if you can, as you are traveling, it doesn't need to be very soon, but I would say we can't go much longer than mid-May.
Yeah.
This, because then
if in the next couple of weeks we could do a session on that. Yeah, I can take responsibility for that.
So 30 minutes one of these days, talk about what would be, how it would go, then you do it, and then you would facilitate this session with the group. And then it would be try to be an all hands, try to, all these people that we're calling team, say, can you come? It's important. This one is, we need you to participate.
Yeah.
Let's try to find the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that sounds good. I can do that.
Good. And also it's important for us because it's something that we always, throughout these years, always got into a stage where the intensity, motivation goes like, ah, and then we get into a point where people start doubting the project, and we have no like, hey, but I didn't agree with this. You know, I wasn't there when you signed this thing. And one of the things mostly is the conversation that we had with Gabs last week, which was on Espaço War, we made one big mistake, which was instead of talking about learning, we talked about producing. And so when people weren't able, so they looked into it as a failure. So they like, this experience wasn't good because I didn't get into where I wanted to go. But they forgot all that they learned, and they changed and they transformed. And then later in the project we started, but did you know this that you learned about? I didn't come for that. That's great. And it's amazing. And right now I have a new job, or I'm starting new.
You had no part in it.
Yeah, but you have no part in it, you know, like, because I signed for launching this product and the product didn't go.
Okay.
We didn't want that at all. That was one of the main aspects of it. Right. So, yeah, organize and see.
Yeah, I can do that.
How you can do that. Yeah.
That works.
Cool. Anything else we could talk today still, since we're here?
Can I just go back to what you mentioned earlier about the about the space, about all giving a bit of money, finding a bit of funding, and seeing what we could do. Yeah, that sounds great. First of all, that sounds really amazing. How soon do you see that?
Like, that's, I think, another of the great conversations we should have in June, but I think we can also have these other conversations until then, which is about the money, how much money we're going to put, because money, as we know, is still our strongest social contract, unfortunately. And we are willing to spend money on it. We can't spend a lot of money on it because we just don't have.
Yeah.
We're in a financial situation that we can't just, that's why we're doing it this way. So we involve other people and we get possibilities of funding and sponsorship.
How many people in the group do you think would be, let's take 50 as the, how many people in the group?
Last time we asked, everyone said yes for that amount. Everybody said like, oh, that's nothing. No, 50 euros. I think
it might be worth, yeah.
Because if you think at the Portuguese level right now, middle class person, 50 euros a month, it's already an expense, but it's not too much. 100 euros starts to become a problem.
But I don't think there would be anybody willing to pay 50 euros without getting in return a space. I mean, there's people in the project that are there in the background. I don't believe any of those will be supporting us. Like, you have a nice project, I'll be paying 50 euros a month.
But actually, if you, surprising enough, for a country like Portugal, in Espaço, for a while, for around a year, we made an experiment to see if people would like sponsor, like with this Patreon style. And we actually
again
was I just pulling out Regan's face?
Oh my god!
Without any sign.
Did you just feed him? Oh, no.
No.
He's just like, yeah.
He likes being without diaper, so I guess he's holding everything in, and then when he's without,
disgusting. Yeah, so we did that, and we actually proposed quite a big number. We were looking for 19 euros, 1990. So this 20 euro, we actually got a lot of people paying it for a year.
And what was that in return for?
It was a Patreon type of thing.
Yeah, they were members, basically.
We could give them some content in return, or we could.
What we proposed was that they could use a couple of days a week for free space. That they could have meetings there. They wouldn't have a table. They wouldn't have a key. That they could have access to the space. They would get invited to all events, which were anyway public, almost always. And they got to be in the group, which they're public and open to everyone anyway. And that they, and then we proposed these services that they were cheaper for them, something like, well, a daily pass or a weekly pass. And then we actually, one that is really cool, and we hope to do with the design lab, which is selling brainstorming as a service.
Yeah.
So we invited everybody in the space to participate in a brainstorm about a topic for the, and then we facilitated, and we asked 50 euros an hour. And we actually got a few. And some of these even got to the news and got to new products, and we even thought maybe that's what we do. Let's not incubate anything because it's too much work. Let's just but part.
I'm thinking that because when you say social contracts, I think that's quite interesting because we could all put a certain amount in and guarantee ourselves a space probably, but then you're creating a social contract between such a small group that for anyone else it maybe would feel like that's their thing, I'm not a part of it. So I think it needs to be a very inclusive process. We are going to get money from people people, and it, like you said, Rika, if people are going to pay, they're going to want something. They're going to want a space or whatever. Maybe it would be worth in June getting a group of people who are willing to start paying.
But
and
also, we started this membership just a little bit later when we already had the community around.
Right.
People started paying it. Yeah, many people were already saying like, look, or no, we were saying afterwards that we are giving up this membership. You don't need to pay anymore. And there were several people who said, no, I want to keep on.
That many people continued paying.
Yeah.
We had to even call some people, say like, can you stop paying because we want to. Yeah.
So I think that for me, this is certainly something I'm trying to see when is it that my energy just suddenly goes up, and it's whenever we talk about the 5 of us and a few more being in a physical space, and that's enough. Like I don't even. I get like excited when we talk about schools and gardens and restaurants and stuff, but I just know that we're all awesome, and so that will happen. Like I don't get like worried that those things won't happen. I just like think it's obvious that we'll all make it happen. It's the bit before where I think is my like tipping point. As soon as we talk about, there's like, if you describe a totally empty room, but with us in it, all paying enough for it to work, I'm like, yeah, cool, I'll come right now. You know what I mean?
So you don't need a lot.
No, not at all.
You're quite a cheap date.
I'm an absolute cheap date. I feel like as soon as we manage to have
a space
that's simple that we're in, we'll make it great, and we'll.
Yeah, that's always what has happened with us, and it's always a little bit hard to explain as part of the process to a group, saying, "Look, guys, we're imagining this crazy vision of this giant idea, but in the meantime, we can have something really cool."
Yeah.
If we have something like we had in Caldas, we were in love with that space. We wanted to be there a lot of time. But again, as soon as you are there, you start, you can't just put people together in a room that think alike and you want to do all these other things.
Yeah, of course. And, we can... I'm exaggerating on purpose, but the 5 of us in a big white empty room, if we just have a few, like if we have a check-in at the beginning of the day, a check-out, and maybe like some sort of group session every day or other day, that's enough. Everything else will happen
organically.
It'll happen.
Yeah.
If we like take it in turns to facilitate the group and make sure that we create a little culture.
Actually, Fernando, the guy, this co-working father, proposed something really cool, which was, because we're very known in the co-working world, that we would ask each of the co-working spaces in Portugal and anywhere in Europe
yes,
to send us a table.
Send you what, a table?
Send you a table.
One of theirs, even an old one, just send them. They would be kind of have their own how do you say?
A plaque.
Side off.
Yeah, it would be like, if you send us a table, anyone from your co-working space can come and work on our space.
I love that. I love that.
And then he went a little bit over and said, you know what would be cool? To have this empty room, a camera live all the time, and seeing it from going from 0 to a full grown on.
And that's the thing, people will join then. That's when people, if we do that, people will start going, okay, I want to play. This looks too good.
Yeah.
We actually did those few events that we had, like in Spassuolo was a co-working day. We had 24 hours live camera.
Yeah.
And those always are like, wow.
In the Making It Epic, we had this guy doing a wall drawing. Amazing. So it was live for 24 hours. We had, And
so do you see us like discussing this in in June and trying to make it. I mean, how long do you think it takes to do this kind of thing? Do spaces take ages to find, or the ones you found to look amazing?
Yeah, you know, it's like
the haunted house.
The last one I posted, just for you to dream a little bit, is the first space that I ever imagined in my life to make a space. This was 15 years ago. And it would be funny that we would end there. But I posted there like this, the dream. And then Ines comes, actually, my boyfriend knows the owner.
No.
Ah, really?
And she said, and he's been getting some weird proposals, so he's never really looked into anything. And I'm all like, really? Can we talk about it? And so, I don't know, but this means building. It's
as walls.
Yeah, the roof has fallen, but it's
like a warehouse, but no.
But it's
no
like
roof
300, 400 square meters by the beach.
Yeah, just like walking yard on the beach.
20 meters.
Yeah.
Is he's selling it? I'm guessing, right?
Yeah.
He said she's renting. He's renting, wanting to rent.
Is it?
But that's a weird
place without a roof. That's crazy.
Because normally, if he is, then he's willing maybe to get rent in return of refurbishing.
And like, yeah.
But then the funding for that is really hard.
Because it's not.
But you never know if it comes like the right project with the right motivation, we might get it. You know, you might get funding, and we might even get so motivated that we might think of investing in it. But because then, even if the space failed completely, and you had a space like that by the beach in Peniche, you put it on Airbnb, and it's $1 million.
Yeah, that would be so good.
Then Benoit would invest.
Then Benoit would come.
Yeah.
But if you're coming in June, and if we want to test how do we work together in a space, getting a room, I don't know, in a
space from the city.
Yeah. It's in the next day.
Almost. I don't know.
Sometimes
you get weird things happening. You never know. But from our experience, most of the time they're really open and really willing to say you can use this space for this long. What would be really cool to have would be something very central in Peniche, something at street level that people could just walk in to the space. If it was like a shop window, even better, because then we could have like posters or sketches.
But that Ines was even saying that there's a lot.
I know,
like
but then
a lot more than
a long-term rental.
And also we're going to June, which is the season starting. There will be shops opening, and also the prices will go up.
But if we would find like a shop that has been closed forever and say, we want rent for a month, this much, do you accept or not? It's better than being closed. They would do. But I would say the city has spaces like that. Because normally in Portugal, cities own a lot of property.
Did I see that Ines was going to go and look this weekend?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, cool.
So are you keen because you want us to get there in June and have a space to go?
I'm keen because I think it takes it from an idea to a real thing, and then I feel like the momentum will just go. Like it'll. In fact, it's like right now, if a few of us chose to stop, the project could feel wobbly. If we had a space, I feel like we wouldn't even get to choose anymore. The momentum would carry itself.
Yeah,
and that's why I feel passionate about that. And also, I think some of the other stuff would come after. So, for instance, the way we talk about it, the way we promote it, the way we get communities involved.
Yeah.
The moment there's a space that's visible, I think that will happen. Like so.
And like, for example, without imagining doing this without the space, like a one fixed space for a month. Do it like in a temporary space, or doing it in like events in here and there. It's possible and it's interesting as well. But it's not the same thing like somewhere where we could, bring our stuff and stay there long hours discussing things and just lights on, open doors, and people just come in.
So
Someone
cool.
call, hey, I want to check that space. Just come, we're here. It's completely different.
Yeah. Agreed.
I think it's very probable, like from what I know from my experience, and we never did this much work ever before a project. Normally was we have this idea, call someone, and how did you talk with someone? Yes, let me talk, and then send an email. Can you send me an email explaining? You send an email. Okay, come check this space, and then we get it. Sometimes they're really shitty.
But it's a space.
But it's a space, and right now we don't need it. The best we can, better. But if it's not, we have a space to work on. And it's summer, even if it's not very comfortable, we'd be fine. It would be good to be safe. So we can leave their stuff that it's not stolen overnight. But a really, really, really good would be window shop in the center of Peniche at the street light. That would be perfect. I was talking with Beatriz. Beatriz was mentioning again the kitchen and how important it is and all that, and was saying like yes, that she was talking if we would thinking of a cafeteria. Then I talked about Lois project, but since she's in Porto now, wouldn't be really happening. But we would be looking to people to have a project like that inside the project. Still, if not having that, we would need, us three are going to be really strong about having a full-on kitchen in the space. Because we know what happens with it in the space. And the possibilities that you open. So if we would look to a cafe, and we would have already all the conditions plus the licensing be open to the public, because that's the hard thing to get. It will take many months to get, plus building all that stuff. So yeah, I think a cafe or a window or a shop then would be the perfect case. If it's not, it's going to be a room in the city hall or
a library or beach.
Yeah, let's camp.
A surf shack.
Yeah.
Beach.
Yeah.
Have you got where do you live, you guys, when you're in Peniche or Portugal?
We live 15k from Peniche.
Okay.
So to the interior.
From Peniche 20.
From
Baleal
from Baleal 15, Peniche
20.
8, 19.
Travel in every day.
Well, what we were looking for was that if we had the possibility of renting something during the summer, we would be in Peniche as well. But then we're thinking like spending that when we're so near, it would be cool if we were all in the same space. But then Tita is also in Caldas, which is a little bit further away. She will be driving for sure. I'm using bike because I want to, but us as well. Now that we're so many, we can't use.
We don't have a car.
One normal car. We need a bigger car to all use the same car. So, but the plan would be, while you would be there, we would be every day together, except maybe, I don't know, weekends. Then we go to the beach, so we'll be together again. So
we have a tent.
Yeah, but it's half an hour away.
Okay.
Half an hour is there.
Yeah.
No, half an hour by bike, I mean.
Oh.
Okay.
No, it's 10 minutes by car.
You're right.
Yeah, it's easy.
Yeah, it's just you need a car for your little family village. You've got a family village.
That's part of the project.
Yeah. And I think it's also important to have these things to discuss then, because then it's going to be part of the project. You know, how people get to the space, how important it is that it's near the bus, near the parking spots, and all those things. Because from Peniche to Peniche, I would say in the first year you're going to get like 10% of interests, and you're going to have surfers, tourists, expats, crazy people like us using the space mostly. And then in the next years, as they see like, okay, these people are maybe staying here, they're nice, little by little you start having, and then one day you get one super community leader that will say, hey, this is cool, come. That's the normal process for a space like that. And so I would say, like, if we do a temporary in June, we love the space, we keep it for months or a year, and we grow to the big thing we want to do. And in a year we would have that. Then we're going in the amazing,
totally,
rhythm.
Or who knows? If it happens, we go to Peniche, and in the first week we talk with someone who says, "Look, I actually have this 4,000 square meter warehouse. You can have it." That is possible as well.
Yeah, it is. Sometimes it is like, why don't you want to use this? And Portuguese are very much like this. That's maybe a good thing that you can say. You know, they will be always like, oh, why don't you? I have this, it's been empty forever. Talking about the right people, and also using our best, how do you say, manners? Our best manners. With you know.
And,
what I mean with this also is that I don't know if we plan really, or if we even want to plan really strictly how is it going to be, because we can't know.
No.
If we just decide, or we have decided already that it's going to happen,
it will happen how it happens.
Yeah.
And also designing doesn't really make sense. Designing for more or less. No, let's design for the have these prototyping phases. That means temporary phase of some form. We don't know yet which one is. But from our experience, we can already make some assumptions, like this type of space is pretty easy to get. This is harder. This is more expensive. It's cheaper. But if we had 1,000 euros a month, we could have whatever type of space it is. For you to have a perspective, for you to have an idea of what. With 1,000 euros, like if we would rent something at the 500 euros.
Well, because us five already, that's just us five. That's 250. So there's not much left, really.
Yeah. So and then I think with a little, again, I'm basing a lot of my assumptions on the work we're doing right now, which we never did before. So it means that coming with a full-on, well-done proposal to the table when we're going to have discussions with companies and saying, like, for example, for a bank to pay 500 euros a month to a project like this, for them it's like, you know, like 500 euros is maybe, what, 1 cent for us?
Yeah.
So, I mean, for the local branch. Because they're moving millions. I always remember this my first project to a big company where I made a proposal to a website, and then they sent it back and said, look into these other proposals and then make another proposal because we're not accepting that one. And because the company I was working with is building roads, the cheapest amount of money, the smallest amount of money that they spent was 1 million euros, which was these bridges that go over the highways. It was their smallest project. So if I asked 10,000 euros to make a website, for them was like, we don't know how to deal with that. Can you raise it? So it was a little
I had a friend who was a video editor and couldn't get any work. And someone said, double your price. And then he doubled his price and got loads of work. Because it's like, oh, he must be good. He's charging more.
So our proposals to these companies need to be like this. Like, we're bringing this giant amount of impacts. We're proposing we're open to any type of participation from you. Hopefully you can help. And I think if we have the city on our back, even if it's just institutional support, we get a couple of good names behind us, which we already have. We can go to companies, and what they will feel always is like, we can't really stay out of this. It's going to be weird that these people have such a good project and came to us, and we said no. But companies might say, hey, we can't really give a lot of money, but would you get 100 euros a month? And we say, that's fine. We put your logo in the website. You know? And yeah, this conversation maybe makes no sense. Maybe we go there and the first company says we're funding it. It's really, which is pretty possible. And then we don't need to look into Peniche. We need to look into foundations. We need to look out to European funds. We need to look into even from the conversations I've been having with like IDEO. You know, like even if one of them just said, "Hey, we support. You can use our logo." And you can imagine what type of how do you say reaction from people you would get.
It's exciting. I'm ready to be there now.
Yeah.
No.
We're over Costa Rica.
Yeah, we're so down because we're having this conversation as well, which is as we're like finishing this thing and we're excited about this new thing. So we're like, it's pretty sad to leave here. I'm like, but we want to take some of the good stuff from here on our next adventure. And we went surfing at the weekend.
Wow.
I stood up 3 times, so I'm ready for Peniche.
You're surfing in the Pacific, right?
Yeah. Less fun.
Never been there.
Okay.
All right. So I hope everybody got inspired.
And I need to do this sacred extreme, so that's my job.
And you also, if you remember, you have another task.
The quotes.
Yes.
Yeah.
You had it in your diary.
I know, I've got it in my diary. I just feel like I need some fodder. I need to react to stuff. So I'll do that.
Do you want to? Are you putting it in Tita's video?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's also to inspire her process in the video.
Yeah.
What type of videos she would be looking for, what type of things she needs us to.
Yeah, it's okay. I'm going to spend 36 hours on a plane this week, so I'm sure I'll find the time to.
Oh.
Yeah, and sometimes if you need just a quick call, like 5 minutes with Steve or I, you can just say, can we talk?
To inspire each other.
Yeah.
Okay, and the proposal.
What is that? Are they birds?
Have we made any more Lego men? Harry Potter.
This is llamas.
No, it's llamas. Nice llamas, man.
We're looking forward to summer, so they would be forced to start speaking in English.
Well, we don't speak Portuguese, so.
I actually had the first conversation in English with my older kid the other day. So we were walking from the library here, and I told him, "Hey, let's just speak English until home." And he was like, I said, "Can you tell me about the book you just read today?" And then he told the full story of the book with the most perfect English. And I was like, you know, when you're swallowing pride, like, but I didn't want him to stop, so I was like, just
Meanwhile, you're just crying next to him. Oh, that's so
Like,
cool.
How? When did you? Like, you haven't been practicing. How do you know to speak English?
Absorb it, don't they? Like Ivor has picked up much more Spanish than he thinks he has.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He just comes out, he starts singing things in Spanish, and I don't know what he's saying.
It's accidental learning.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It is like we
It's
them
pretty cool.
like a sponge.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just shows you like how much obscene potential human beings have. It's just totally crazy.
And what a waste of time school is.
I know, don't.
Like, these kids would have been now, to be at the level of English he is right now, he would have been like 5 years in school learning English.
Like painful.
Look, I didn't start speaking English until I was like 10th grade, like properly speaking, not just like reading and writing stupid sentences and
Yeah.
And you remember your classes? How do you do?
Yeah.
Yeah, the British accent. That's
I studied English as a foreign language in French school. I had to go from the age of 6 to 18. I had to go. And I remember when the first class one year, the guy next to me was talking in my ear. And so the teacher said, why don't you show the class how good you are at English? Read this page. And I was like, oh dear. And then I just like stood up and read it in perfect English. And she was like, oh shit. It's totally crazy.
And you got told off for correcting him.
Yeah, I used to correct the teachers because I had to go to English class and they spoke really bad English.
Yeah.
Like really bad.
And normally frustrated because they wanted to be like a writer.
Right, of course,
Yeah,
of course,
not a
yeah.
teacher.
Yeah, they don't want to be teachers.
no,
Like, I remember maybe in 100 teachers I met 2 that really loved teaching and in the classes with them. But the rest was just, I have to go through this time with them, and that's it. Like, how can I make it go faster?
Well, something we learned at Casasula I never thought of is they talk a lot about Piaget's like stages of learning, and one of the things when I was in England, some of my friends who are teachers are always like, "Okay, John, since you know so much, how do you teach a kid to read?" And now I have the perfect answer is, you don't. You wait till they're developed enough that they'll learn for themselves. So what they say at Casasula is, you wait, and suddenly at 11-year-old, you've been worrying your kid can't read, and at 11-year-old, suddenly in 2 weeks they can read.
Yeah.
And it can take like 3 years of brainwashing.
Yeah, we've been here a month, and what we have learned that our eldest can do is, he now reads a 400, 500 pages book per day. I was never able to do that. I still can't.
He's Rain Man.
Yeah.
And in between, he reads cartoons.
Yeah.
When he gets tired in reading, he goes and takes a cartoon book.
I'm reading The Hobbit, but then
Yeah,
translating.
me too. With Ivor, I'm reading that with Ivor right now.
And I'm translating from English to Portuguese as I'm reading, because the book is in English.
Yeah.
And then sometime I just, as a joke, and I said, Ayo, I'm tired. I'm going to read in English and you translate. And I started. And the English in The Hobbit is pretty colloquial and there's a lot of weird words.
Yeah.
So,
and he translated everything. And now I started, what I do is I forget a word, I just say, Ayo, this, and he translates.
That's so cool.
that's just amazing.
That's a kid that's never got spoken to in English. He's just been listening to us speak. And
And does he watch films and things like that, or in English?
Yeah.
Yes, we also watch some things that sometimes we watch. There's no subtitles, and he's around. Now, in the past 2 years, maybe he's really listening and watching that stuff.
And he understands everything.
Yeah.
Even India, even the youngest,
already
understands what you're saying in English.
Peter, have you got a fidget spinner there?
Yeah.
Ivor can't wait to get his back in England. Ivor decided the other day to just to go meditate, and Like, I've never tried to ask him to or encourage him, or like he's just seen us since being here do it most mornings. And the other day he's like, Mummy, I'm going to try meditate. I'm going to do 1 minute today, 2 minutes tomorrow, 3 minutes until I can do 30 minutes, and then I'm going to do it for the rest of my life. And he went.
Right.
We don't know what he does.
I asked him, how do you do it? And he says, well, I close my eyes and I do this. I was like, well, you don't have to do the hands, you know? And he was like, yeah, I've seen them, the meditators.
I've seen them.
We don't know what he shuts his eyes, apparently. So,
yeah.
Amazing what you, just from watching you. Be good.
I'm looking forward to seeing this vibe over here. Sounds pretty magical.
And also the crazy stuff.
Yeah, it sounds crazy. It sounds totally good.
All right, guys, we're going for sauna.
All right, you do that. Have a lovely sauna.
Nice.
We'll go get together.
We might go and jump in a pool.
We'll talk soon.
Yeah.
All right.
Someone is food and
Yeah, I'm completely wet.
You go and clean the pee.
And the pool.
See ya.
Wow.
Ciao. Talk soon.